I'm Lexi. I'm in the US. And today we are going to take a look at another American classic. This is a fairly well-known American classic, even outside of the US, in the sense that a lot of people have heard of it and it confuses a lot of people. What I'm talking about is Biscuits and Gravy. Biscuits and Gravy originated in the southern region of the United States sometime back in the 1800s. And you would really be hard-pressed to find a diner nowadays anywhere across the country that isn't serving a version of it. American Biscuits and Gravy is not some sort of sweet biscuit covered in brown gravy like people like to make fun of us for. It is a light and fluffy American biscuit. I've already done a video on that. I'll link that below in the description. Covered in a white sauce that has sausage in it. It's delicious and comforting and hearty and perfect for a cold winter morning or evening. Honestly, I make this for dinner most of the time. Now, there are a couple of things that I do to mine that are non-traditional. I am not Southern, so I know this is going to have the Southern people up in arms. But I will tell you the additions that I make that are not traditional when I get there. I don't think it hurts the overall integrity of the dish. I think that one of them helps with flavor and the others help with nutrition. What might those be? You'll see when we get there. So let's head on into the kitchen and I'll show you how I make mine. So the first thing we're going to do is I've already got my oven heated to 425 degrees Fahrenheit. That is 200 and something, it'll be here, in Celsius. And I had these biscuits in the freezer that I made and froze for later. So these are going to go in the oven at that 425 for about 22 minutes. If you don't have biscuits in the freezer, you can make fresh biscuits. I've done that before on the channel. I can link that video in the description. Or if you don't feel like making biscuits, you can use biscuits out of the refrigerator department at your grocery store, like the Pillsbury ones. Unfortunately, if you're in Europe, I don't believe they carry those. You'll probably have to make some if you want to give this a try, but they're not that hard, don't worry. So I'm going to pop these in the oven real quick. And then set my timer before I forget. Timer, 22 minutes, please. If your oven tends to cook quickly,
22 minutes, counting down.
If your oven tends to cook quickly, you may want to start with 20 minutes. I know my oven's kind of slow. Second thing we're going to do is brown some sausage meat. This is just breakfast sausage. I'm going to dump it into here and then get it on the heat. Now, I thawed this in the microwave and I probably left it in there a little too long, so it started to cook, but we're going to cook it through and break it all up anyway, so it doesn't really matter. You just cook this till it's browned. I'm going to get that started and I'll be right back. While we are waiting for that sausage to brown, now this is one of the parts that isn't entirely traditional. Most people don't put any kind of vegetable in their sausage gravy, but we all need more vegetables in our diet, right? And for me, this is an easy place to add some in. So we're going to chop up an onion. I don't know what's going on with that piece. There we go. Try not to get onion everywhere like I am, but if it happens, it's not the end of the world, right? It cleans up. I am not having a easy time chopping this onion today, am I? What is on that? We don't need that bite. And this just goes to show that every piece of vegetation you chop does not go smoothly, no matter how often you chop it. I'm going to go ahead and put this in with the sausage while it's browning because it's not going to hurt anything, and this onion needs to cook down and maybe caramelize a little bit. That would be a good thing. If it just gets translucent, I'm okay with that too, but we do want it cooked. Now, at this point, I would normally chop up a green pepper or a yellow pepper or some kind of bell pepper to put in with that. But I don't have any fresh peppers. What I do have is this big bag of frozen peppers left over from last year's garden. So I am going to throw approximately 1 pepper's worth of chopped up pepper in with that sausage meat and onion. And then this is going to take a little bit of time to cook down from here, so I will be back when it's time for the next step. See you in a minute. So I've got this sausage all cooked through, and the onions and peppers are soft, and there's not a lot of fat in here. I did not drain this. I actually want a little bit more fat in this than is here. If you've got a fattier sausage, you won't have to do this next bit. You won't have to add butter to it. I'm just going to add about that much butter. And the heat, we're going to put this back on the stove, but about that much butter and a sprinkle of flour, a good healthy sprinkle of flour. We're actually going to do a little more than that. And then this, you're going to put on the stove and cook it for a few minutes. You don't want the flour to burn, but you do want to get rid of that raw flour taste. We're making a roux here, and we've done that before a few times on the channel. But I'm going to put this back on the stove. You know what? A little more flour. I'm going to put this back on the stove so that it can cook up properly, and then I'll see you back in a second. Okay, the butter melted and the flour's cooked for a minute, and now we're going to add in some milk. And you really should be doing this over the heat, but I don't have any lighting over there. So I'm just going to give you the idea. Add in a little bit at a time and stir. And this is not going to really thicken properly until I get it back on the heat. But you're going to stir this and you're going to add more milk until you get about the consistency of gravy that you want. And then bring it up to a simmer before we're done. I will be finished. I'm going to add a whole lot more milk than this, but I'm going to do that when I get it back over on the heat. We're going to season this first. A whole lot of black pepper. Black pepper and sausage gravy really go together. And a pinch of salt. These are those pucks of garlic that I made when I did the whole random stuff day. So I'm going to add, no, I don't think I even want a whole one. I think I want about half a one. Will it break? Yeah, it'll break. About half a puck of garlic. Or you can do garlic powder, if that's what you've got. Or jarlic. However you keep garlic in your house is fine. And then, again, this is not traditional, but I'm going to put in about that much red pepper flake. I just want a little bit of a kick, but not too much of a kick. Now I'm going to go get this back on the heat and add some more milk and finish making the gravy portion. See you when it's done. This looks so good. Now, I like a thicker gravy. But if you want a thinner gravy, just add a little bit more milk. I ended up adding about 3 cups to mine when I was making that. But let's give this a try. Soft, fluffy biscuit. Get a bit of pepper, a bit of sausage. Mmm. The biscuits really are the perfect vehicle for getting this gravy from your bowl to your face. They're light and fluffy and buttery, and the gravy is hearty and meaty, and I think the peppers add a little bit of brightness. The red pepper adds a little bit of kick. Onions are good in almost everything, right? This is absolutely delicious. And I encourage you to give it a try. I know it might sound weird, but it's really good. And we can't be afraid of new things, and you don't know you don't like something until you try it. So give this a shot. I think you'll be surprised. But that's all I've got for today. So if you could give the video a thumbs up, and then subscribe if you haven't already, I'd really appreciate it. And as always, I'll see you next time. Bye!